My name is Robin Peters. I'm CEO and co-founder of Snugg. Looking around the room, it looks like there's a few people who might be parents, and a lot of you will know what an amazing feeling it is to have daughters who are pretty much the best possible cheerleaders a father can have. I've got two daughters, and they are just spectacularly positive about me. From they're adults technically now, but from when they were little babies and would wake up in their pajamas and want to tell me about their day and hear about what I'd done during the day, to now when they will like even my most cringeworthy LinkedIn post just to show support for Dad, is spectacular, and that means so much to me because. My career, I've worked in lots of different countries, I've worked in lots of different types of businesses and solved all sorts of different problems. But unfortunately, generally, they've been in pretty controversial sectors. As an example, it's saying you're trying to build a more effective ground attack bomber is a bit of a conversation stopper. So, albeit a bit later in life for me, actually founding Snugg, which is really doing good, basically trying to do our little bit to save the planet, is amazingly reassuring. My girls are still, of course, completely sportive, but I also occasionally overhear them sort of bragging a little bit about how Dad's saving the planet. So with that kind of intro, what I'm going to talk to you about today is what Snugg is, what we're trying to do, how we're using data and leveraging great UX to do our little bit to save the planet, and why FinTech has got an absolute central role in participating in this net zero challenge. So, a chart which I'm sure most of you will know backwards, these numbers, but on the left, houses contribute about 20% of emissions in the UK. The obvious issue there is we are not going to hit net zero unless we do something about housing. Despite Rishi's little intervention, not massively helpful the other week, we can't not do something on houses. Houses have to be addressed. We have to insulate them and decarbonize and electrify them if we're going to hit net zero. The second point, which probably is one of the key reasons why we've had this intervention, is it is going to be really expensive to fix housing just in the UK. So the dark green slug through the chart on the right is the cumulative cost estimated by the Climate Change Committee to get UK housing to net zero. And the sum of that over the years between now and 2050 is in excess of £250 billion. And to be honest, that's an underestimate of what it's actually going to cost. The obvious conclusion from that is the public sector simply isn't going to be able to finance that without a significant intervention from private sector finance. When you ask people about who they expect should solve housing and solve net zero, they will generally look to the government, but the government simply can't do it themselves. So the role for private sector finance is enormous. So why isn't it happening now? Well, insulation, as exciting and as a roller coaster ride as it is, actually has been around for ages. And actually heat pumps have been around for probably decades and decades, if not 100 years. Why is it not being adopted more rapidly? Well, we see four key barriers. The first is it's actually quite complex to retrofit a house and disruptive. If you want, generally most insulation things that once you draft-boot your door, you end up having to strip down internal insulation in homes. Get under floors to insulate them. Heat pumps often mean you've got to replumb the radiators, etc. It's not a straightforward challenge for people who want to do the right thing. The second point is the industry's fragmented. There's lots of people trying to do the right thing, but between solution providers, finance providers, grant providers, manufacturers, installers, it's just not joined up. We're also faced with a current problem of a massive undersupply of enough trades to actually do this work. And the estimate is we're probably about 200,000 tradesmen too short to actually get houses fixed. Now that is fixable. Just one factoid, it's going to take, I think the estimate to install heat pumps at the rate that's expected, we're going to need about 60,000 heat pump engineers. There's about 3,000 today. But there are 90,000 gas boiler engineers who, over time, can be repurposed and retrained. It's fixable, but it's a problem today. It's expensive, and that's probably what we're in Snugg we're facing into most is the government estimate is an average retrofit of a house is going to cost about £10,000. When you use the Snugg model to model your own house, you'll probably find that you're looking at costs in tens of thousands of pounds to put things like heat pumps and reinsulate your house. People don't have that money available, and government grants are available, but traditionally they've been focused on, very rightly, on people in fuel poverty and very specific circumstances. So a lot of people haven't been able to access grant support. And finally, it's uncertain. Most of the risk of payback traditionally has been on the consumer. You pay all this money and just kind of hope that you're going to get the money back that you've invested. The industry's got some pretty bad previous in terms of overestimating savings, overpromising what's deliverable, etc., poor quality installation, etc. So consumers have been faced with really long payback and rightly a degree of skepticism about what they're going to get back. So, of course, everyone loves a challenge. That's why I founded Snugg, and given that it really is getting pretty critical, we need to do something, why that's actually an opportunity for us. So what is Snugg? Just from the top line, you can see I used to be a consultant, that we are an ecosystem platform, which basically, more simply, means we've got a digital platform that helps people act, helps people go through this journey to actually do things in their houses. And we take lots of data from different sources, some pretty sophisticated analysis in the background, and present it to customers as simply, as intuitively as possible to help them along that journey. So we start with a home profile. We absorb a whole bunch of data that's available in a number of different open data sources. And if you give us your postcode and the number of your address, we will tell you what we know about your home in terms of its current energy efficiency, what we think probably needs to be done to the home to improve it. We then allow people, help coach people to come up with their own personalized plans, so adding and taking things off the plan to work out what works for them. And within that, we add things like working out, so using some machine learning models, how much, for instance, how much value it might add to the value of that house, for instance. Next point is we connect people with grants. Grants are becoming more available. But I got told off for using the word Kafkaesque previous. Does anyone know what Kafkaesque is? Yeah, it's basically impenetrable sort of bureaucracy hell, which is largely the way of that people who try and get grants experience. Try it, because it is absolute hell to try and get grants to do this. What we're doing is we've got a thing called a grants wizard, which helps demystify that and point people that the grants are right for them based on their own plan. Certainly our aspiration is to actually start pre-populating the application so it can be as seamless a journey as possible. Next, we connect people to finance. That's my background. Well, one of my backgrounds, other than building fighter jets, was in financial services. And we're connecting people to finance products that work for them. So you'll have seen a number of green mortgage products out there. A lot of people just want to connect to savings products. And there's a lot of innovation going on in things like heat as a service products, which people, which will fit the needs of some people, and we're connecting people to those finance products. We obviously getting things installed is quite important, so we connect people with installers. We're working particularly with a couple of the large utility companies who have got a mandate to help homes decarbonise. And the final bit is in monitoring, so getting that feedback loop that when people have actually done the installation, we connect through the, oh, bloody hell, again, right, sorry, 10 minutes, okay, hurry up. We connect them back through the smart meter to demonstrate the savings they're actually getting. And part of that is we're originating a carbon credit. I heard someone talking about carbon accounting. But if you put a heat pump in your house, you will save not really any fuel costs, but you will save loads of carbon. And that carbon has got value, and we can give that value back to consumers. So that's our product. Do you have to point this at something? So this is kind of the Rishi Sunak slide of kind of why shouldn't people invest in this? And the starting point of this is it is expensive. So kind of the waterfall chart on the left, if you believe that it costs £10,000 to improve your house and people stay in a house for on average about 10 years, you will probably save about £300 a year. This is hugely averaged, obviously, in fuel costs. So by the time you move house, you're £7,000 down on your investment, and it begs the question: what's the point of investing under those circumstances? So what we're doing, from again using financial data, is trying to change the perspective on that business case to make it far more compelling. So I mean, I call it going from a no-hoper to a no-brainer. So when we add things like getting people better technology costs, lower better savings, connecting them more effectively to grants. Letting them see the impact of the value of their property. Obviously, fuel savings have gone up, and fuel costs aren't going to come down anytime soon. We can point people towards financial products which work better for them, give them lower interest rates, etc., and originate this carbon credit, as I mentioned. So in combination, this is obviously massively averaged, but that creates a very different investment picture for people. And that's what's underpinning Snugg is actually being able to present people that in an intuitive way. We're not making guarantees for people, but we do lots and lots of user testing, and we find that people are intrigued by being able to understand these numbers. So final point, why is this an opportunity for FinTech for good? And hopefully this is going to reflect some of the other themes from today. But the first point is, this is we're a data-driven business. There's a huge opportunity to leverage data far, far more effectively than we do at the moment. I don't know who knows what an EPC is. Most people are probably very dismissive about them because they're pretty rubbish generally, and it's an incomplete data set. But it is the best data set we've got, and actually there's some really good stuff in it. So as a starting point, there's lots more we can do with EPC data, and then we can overlay lots of other data points on top to infer EPCs where we don't have them, etc. The next point, which is a possibly slight Freudian slip, no, deliberate slip, is unearth new data sources. And I know we've got the guys from Earth Blocks coming up. So satellite data, for instance, is an opportunity to look top down on a house and actually look at how fuel efficient it is. Has it got a really bright red heat signature, which we can help to kind of gamify and get people to start thinking about improving their insulation. Second point is seeing the opportunity, or seizing the opportunity even. There's two ways of looking at this. It's it's a huge cost and an absolute nightmare. The planet's going to burn, and it's all going to be terrible. Or you could see it as a massive opportunity, which obviously is how I see it. And there's an opportunity for FinTech and for financial services to embrace what basically is going to be another industrial revolution. The only way of making this absolutely monumental change in the way that energy is delivered and consumed in the UK is going to take hundreds of billions, if not trillions of pounds. Just thinking back to the first industrial revolution, that is what caused banking to shift from a bunch of kind of private banks into the kind of industrial strength banking that we see today. So there's that can be recreated again. And obviously, and going back to my kind of daughter's drive, we can save the planet, but within FinTech, we're actually doing something which is fundamentally critical to the future of the planet. And the final kind of opportunity, and I definitely heard it when I came in, is there's an opportunity for collaboration in two ways. First, in terms of connecting innovative SMEs and large public sector banks. So the banks have basically connection with every consumer in the UK and a reason to talk to them, given that banks have obviously set their own finance targets for reducing financed emissions. And there's lots and lots of, even more than Snugg, great SMEs that can help the banks actually move on that path. And the other point, which I think banks can do generally, but is work across the sector for the public good. Obviously, banks tend to work in verticals and be quite competitive with each other. I think it's less bad in banking than it is in some other sectors. But really making this work for consumers is going to take collaboration across the sector. So definitely an opportunity. FinTech can be and is absolutely central to making that happen. One, I couldn't do it without a sales pitch, of course, but get the QR code. I'll just wait for everybody to get their phone out and get the QR code. And do try it out, www.snugg.com. And we've got the wonderful Michelle who's going to be outside. She's got some, the banner. She can talk to you all about what Snugg is. She's got some Quality Street available to give us, all that. Love the metaphor, by the way, Michelle. So do ask us, find out about what we can do and how we can work together. And I think that is it. Yeah, so thanks very much. Looking forward to speaking to you later. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Robin.